I'd like to welcome you to the Weber County 912 project meeting tonight. Our goal is to provide education for those of us who are old hats at the political process, as well as those who are newly joining us. We thank our hosts, Christian Heritage School, for allowing us to meet here in their building. You'll join with me. Roll call. If you're here, please stand. State Senator Stuart Reed, Betty Sawyer. These are the ones that apply to Weber County. Craig Call for State Representative District 6. Brad Galvez. There's Brad. Benjamin Hales. Randy Phipps. Brad, come on down. If you're here, please come down. Brent Ropalato. District 7, Peter Conver Clemens. Ryan Wilcox. District 8, Gage Schroer, Alan Wheelwright. District 9, Jesse Garcia, Neil Hansen, Jeremy Peterson. These are all parties, by the way. District 10, Dixon Pitcher, Randy Rounds. District 11, Brad D., Stephen Gaskell. District 12, Larry Sisney, and Richard Greenwood, who called me and said he wouldn't be able to make it tonight. He's here. He is here? Okay. He's a liar. Oh, wait a minute, he didn't call me. He emailed me. Uh-oh. My mistake. Somebody else must have. Thank you, Richard. County Assessor John Uleberry. County Attorney Dee Smith. County Clerk Ricky Hatch. Alan McEwen. Teresa Jorgensen. County Commissioner, Seat A, Drew Johnson. T.R. Morgan. Okay, that Alan McEwen. Okay. Jan Zogmeister. Seat B, Ken Bischoff. Carrie Gibson. He would have to pick a seat all the way to the back. Amy Wicks. County Recorder Debbie Hanson. Ernest Rowley. County Sheriff Gary Hawes. Brett Haycock, Terry Thompson. County Treasurer John Bond. Darcy Kreutbosch. State School Board, Keith Buswell, Richard Favero, Lisa Galvez, Monty Hardy, David Hicken, Ann Meeks, Ogden School Board, Steve Marker, Steve Prisby, Brad Smith, John Thompson, and Joyce Wilson. Thank you. Wait.
Is it possible to email all of us who came and who didn't tonight?
The question was whether it's possible to email all of the people who are here tonight. I will consider it. It depends on what it is. If I
Of our representatives or people who are running, who came to this and who didn't.
He wants a list of those.
Oh, list of people that were here. Adam? Okay. I'd like to now introduce our keynote speaker, Congressman Rob Bishop, representing Utah's 1st Congressional District, is now in his 4th term in the House, serving on the Armed Services Committee, the Committee on Natural Resources, and the Education and Labor Committee. He is the ranking Republican member on the Parks and Public Lands Subcommittee and serves as a vice chair on the House GOP Policy Committee. Co-founder of the Western States Coalition, he was elected by his colleagues this term to serve as chairman of the Congressional Western Caucus. He served 16 years in the Utah House of Representatives and 2 terms as the state chairman of the Republican Party. Recently, Congressman Bishop was named chair of the 10th Amendment Task Force. Please welcome Congressman Rob Bishop.
That was really kind of you. I don't know why you did it, but and it was very kind of you to actually stand up and then stay. I appreciate that. And it's good to look around and see so many friends that we worked with many years on certain lobbying assignments as well. Kerry, it's good to see you again. He tells me what to do about dairy stuff because I don't work as hard as he does. I am appreciative of the chance of being here, and I'm also appreciative of what you are doing. The last assignment I had that you mentioned on a very overly long bio was we are starting a 10th Amendment Task Force in Congress. My goal with this conference I'm chairman of it, and my goal is not to come up with another position paper so we can pontificate. The goal this time is to actually come up with some laws that we can use to empower states. So the process is simply that we want to be working with states. So this is where groups like the Patrick Henry Caucus is important to me, ALEC, the Governor's Association, to try and come up with ways that states can be empowered so they can actually stand up to the federal government, because I'm ready to lose. Part of it is we have to quit dangling money that we don't have in front of states. Part of it is also states have to quit taking the money that we dangle in front of them. As Stick Army used to say, if you want to get out of the trap, you've got to let go of the cheese. So it's a two-way concept, but I am committed to making sure that federalism is indeed the principle that we have, and to me that is the salvation of this country. Now, I was asked to talk about ways you can actually look at candidates and try and judge them. To me, there's not necessarily a litmus test. If I'm with somebody 8 out of 10 times, I'm comfortable with that person. Except there is one litmus test that goes back to the very philosophy of the government. If you go back into the House chambers where I serve in Washington, up along the top are all the great lawgivers in the history of the world. Moses, as the greatest of all lawgivers, is the only one that has a full face and he's looking right at the speaker. Everyone else has a side view. And there's only 2 Americans in that icons, that litany of icons, Jefferson and George Mason, which is kind of ironic because neither of them signed the Constitution. And George Mason was one of 3 people who spent the entire time at the Constitutional Convention and then refused to sign the document. Now, when I was teaching school, I always insisted my kids would have to tell me who were the 3 people that did not sign it and why. And of course, George Mason didn't sign it because it did not have a Bill of Rights. I was always hoping, against hope, never happened, but I was hoping that some kid would actually ask me what I think is the more important question, which is not why did George Mason not sign it, but why did all those other great people that were at the convention, Washington and Franklin and Madison and Hamilton and Wilson and Dickinson, why did they not go along with George Mason and add a Bill of Rights? Because it wasn't that they were opposed to individual liberties. What they were fearful of is anytime you list liberties, does that become either the floor or the ceiling? What happens if you forget something? What they decided to do is include the structure of our government as a mechanism to ensure individual liberty. So they do that by separation of powers. It's a term not in the document, but by separating powers horizontally between the 3 branches of government. The purpose of that was to preserve individual liberty. Usually that's all that's taught in schools. Equally important to them, though, was a vertical separation of power between the federal government and the states. Once again, for the purpose of securing individual liberty. We call that horizontal separation of power, balance of power. The vertical one we call federalism. Those words are not in the document, but that is the fundamental structure of government. And the purpose was to ensure liberty. And that structure between the state and the national government was always supposed to be a balance. If states told the national government what to do, you're back in your Articles of Confederation time, that's bad. If the federal government told states what to do, it is equally out of balance, and the losers are individual liberties. Now, to me, that's very important, because to me, that is what